The Chicago Bears just put the entire NFL on notice, and most people still have not caught up to what is actually happening in that building. Ben Johnson walked into Halas Hall and in one single season turned a franchise that used to celebrate scoring 20 points into one of the most explosive offenses in football. 11 wins, an NFC North title, 7 fourth-quarter comeback victories, 441 points scored, the third highest total in Bears history. And at the center of all of it, Caleb Williams, who shattered the franchise single-season passing record with 3,942 yards, threw 27 touchdowns against just 7 interceptions, and dragged this team all the way to the divisional round of the playoffs. This is not a rebuild anymore. This is a team that the rest of the league is actively afraid of, and what is coming next might be even scarier than what already happened. Because here's the part nobody is paying enough attention to. The Bears' offense ranked second in the entire NFL with 127 explosive plays last season, and Ben Johnson himself just admitted that the passing game still has another level to reach. Caleb Williams is already one of the most dynamic quarterbacks on the planet, and even he knows there is more in the tank. One of the most respected coaches in football just went out of his way to publicly call Caleb a problem that keeps him up at night. Ryan Poles just quietly revealed a move behind the scenes that tells you exactly how the Bears front office feels about their quarterback's future. And the NFL just made a decision that has the entire organization furious. All of that is in this video. But there is one thing that makes everything else feel small, and it starts with what Sean McVay said about Caleb Williams at the owners' meetings this week. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Bears and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. Sean McVay did not have to say any of this. Nobody forced him. Nobody put words in his mouth. But at the NFL owners' meetings this week, the Los Angeles Rams head coach was asked about Caleb Williams. And what came out of his mouth was not some polite coach speak throwaway line. He called him a stud. He said that even just preparing for him before the divisional round playoff game was enough to see something special. He talked about the crunch time throws, the pre-snap reads, the coordination it takes to do what Caleb does at the line of scrimmage. And then he said something that hit different. He pointed to that 4th and 4 play and called it one of the most incredible things he has ever witnessed on a football field. Coming from a coach who has been to a Super Bowl, that is not a small statement. What makes this even more telling is the part about off-schedule plays. McVay said the things Caleb does when the pocket breaks down and the play falls apart are what make him nearly impossible to plan for. You can scheme all week, draw up the perfect pressure package, and then watch a 250-pound defensive end wrap him up only for Caleb to spin out, dodge another defender, to irrigate and launch a 45-yard throw downfield like nothing happened. McVay said you can tell his teammates believe in him, that he lights up in the most pressure-packed moments. And that last part is what separates the good quarterbacks in this league from the ones who actually change the game. McVay probably knows better than most what the Bears are building because he just lived through it. His Rams needed overtime to put Caleb and that offense away in the playoffs. Now imagine that same quarterback with a full offseason of growth, better chemistry with his weapons, and a coaching staff that already knows exactly how to push him further. That brings us to the group of young players surrounding Caleb that might be the most dangerous collection of offensive talent the Bears have had in decades. Most teams in the NFL would trade half their draft capital just to have one franchise cornerstone under the age of 25 on offense. The Bears have 6 of them. Caleb Williams at 24. Luther Burden III at 22, fresh off a season where Ben Johnson said he has some of the best run-after-catch ability in the entire league right now. Rome Odunze at 23, who led the team in receiving before a foot injury slowed his second half. Colston Loveland, who is still just 21 years old and locked down the starting tight end job in his first NFL season. Kyle Monangai, who helped fuel the third-best rushing attack in the league, and Darnell Wright, a second-team All-Pro right tackle at just 24. Stack all of that together, and you start to understand why opposing defensive coordinators are losing sleep. The offseason reshuffled the deck too. DJ Moore was traded to the Buffalo Bills for a second-round pick, which means targets are about to open up everywhere. Johnson already made it clear that getting the ball to Luther Burden as much as possible is a top priority moving forward. The addition of Khalif Raymond from the Detroit Lions brings a sure-handed, veteran presence and return game juice. Cole Kmet remains a reliable weapon in the middle of the field, and DeAndre Swift is coming off a bounce-back season where he crossed 1,000 rushing yards. This is not a roster with one star carrying everyone else. This is a deep, young, connected group that still has room to grow together. That depth is exactly what makes Ben Johnson's plan for year 2 so fascinating. Because what he said this week about the offense was not a victory lap. It was a warning shot aimed at his own team, and it might be the most exciting thing any Bears fan has heard all offseason. Ben Johnson stood at the owners' meetings this week and said something most coaches would never admit publicly. He said he was not happy with the coaching staff's ability to get the primary receiver open last season. He put that on himself first before pointing at anyone else. He said route detail across the board needs to get sharper, ball location has to improve, and the simple act of catching the football has to get better. That kind of honesty from a head coach who just won the NFC North and made the playoffs in year 1 tells you everything about the standard he is building inside that facility. But the part that should genuinely terrify the rest of the league is what he said about the scramble game. Johnson admitted the Bears scramble tape was not very good last season. He wants Caleb Williams to improve his accuracy when extending plays and get smarter about when to stay in the pocket versus when to take off. And here's the thing. Caleb already showed flashes of being electric on the move. If he tightens that up, if the timing with his receivers gets even a half second better, this offense jumps from good to genuinely elite. Johnson also revealed that 2 new assistant coaches recently watched tape from last year's Family Fest practice at Soldier Field and could not believe how far the team came from that starting point to where they finished the season. That growth happened in 1 year, one single year of Caleb and Johnson working together. Now they get a full offseason where Caleb already knows the system, the terminology, the expectations. Johnson called Caleb's playmaking ability his magical talent and said he can be the ultimate eraser when the coaching staff gets it wrong. If the floor of this offense was a top 10 unit with all those fixable issues, then the ceiling might be something this franchise has never seen before. And that ceiling is exactly why Ryan Poles just made the most significant behind-the-scenes move of the entire offseason. Ryan Poles said it out loud. Not behind closed doors, not through unnamed sources, but directly to the Chicago Sun-Times. The Bears are already preparing for a Caleb Williams contract extension. He called it a summer project and confirmed that Matt Feinstein, the team's salary cap specialist and vice president of football administration, is actively researching what an extension could look like right now. A full year before Caleb is even eligible to sign one. Let that sink in. This front office is not waiting to see what happens. They are building around the assumption that Caleb Williams is the long-term answer at quarterback. Poles used a traffic light analogy to explain where the organization stands. He said the light was red during Caleb's first season. It shifted to yellow after the 2025 breakout. And now he is watching for a green light in 2026 that removes all doubt. He was honest about what still needs to happen. He said consistency is what he is looking for. The ability to stack great years on top of each other. And that Caleb knows he still has work to do. But the tone behind every word was not cautious. It was eager. He said having a long-term quarterback solution makes him excited. And that the team has to start planning now for how a major extension will reshape their entire roster building strategy going forward. This is historic for the Bears. This franchise has spent decades cycling through quarterbacks and never finding the one worth betting the future on. The last time they committed to a quarterback financially at this level was Jay Cutler, and even that felt like a gamble at the time. This feels different. Poles is not hoping Caleb works out. He is actively preparing for the moment he can lock him in. The question now becomes how big that commitment is going to be, and whether the Bears can actually afford it without destroying the rest of their roster. Right now, the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL earn between $55 and $60 million per year on an annual basis. Dak Prescott sits at the very top at $60 million. Josh Allen and Joe Burrow are right behind him. If Caleb Williams delivers a full season of consistent, high-level quarterback play in 2026, multiple projections suggest he could reset that market entirely. Some estimates place his potential deal in the range of $60 to $65 million per year, with total guaranteed money pushing north of $280 million. That is the kind of number that reshapes how a franchise operates for the next half-decade. The smart play, and the one Poles appears to be studying, follows the blueprint the Seattle Seahawks used with Jackson Smith-Njigba. Seattle picked up the fifth-year option first, then extended him on a new 4-year deal at $42 million per year. But because of how the structure worked, the cap hit did not balloon until year 5 of 6 on his total contract. The Bears could mirror that approach with Caleb. Pick up the 5th-year option after year 3, extend him, and keep the early cap hits in the 20s and 30s before the bigger numbers kick in down the road when the salary cap itself has grown. Poles acknowledged this reality when he said the Bears' offense is going to get really expensive, and that building young defensive talent through the draft is essential to sustaining what they have built. One wild card nobody can ignore is the fact that Caleb Williams still does not have an agent. Poles acknowledged it could present challenges, but said they will embrace it when the time comes. Lamar Jackson negotiated his deal without a traditional agent too, so there is precedent. However this plays out, the contract is not the only thing Poles is navigating right now. There is another situation that just reached its conclusion this week, and it has the entire Bears organization fuming at the league office. The ruling came down today. The NFL officially denied the Bears' appeal for 2 third-round compensatory draft picks tied to Ian Cunningham, leaving to become the Atlanta Falcons general manager. The league released a statement saying the matter is now closed, and that Cunningham does not fill the primary football executive role as defined in their rules, because Matt Ryan holds the title of President of Football in Atlanta. Bears owner George McCaskey, President Kevin Warren, and GM Ryan Poles all flew to New York to personally sit down with Commissioner Roger Goodell and make their case. They laid out the evidence. They made their argument face to face, and the league still said no. Here's what makes this sting so badly. Matt Ryan himself publicly said he has never been in a draft meeting before and that the football side is Ian Cunningham's show. Cunningham said at the NFL Combine that he is the general manager and the Bears should get the picks. The Falcons just hired Jeff Scott as an assistant GM, which only makes sense if Cunningham is running things as the top football decision maker. Every single piece of real-world evidence pointed in one direction, and the league chose to prioritize the literal text of a job title over the actual job being done. That is not a technicality. That is a choice, and it cost the Bears 2 valuable third-round selections over the next 2 drafts. The bigger concern going forward is the precedent this sets. When any team that wants to hire a minority executive from another organization can now install a figurehead above him, call that person the primary football executive, and completely avoid giving up compensatory picks. That is a loophole that directly undermines the purpose of the Rooney Rule. Poles called the entire situation strange at the Combine and said developing staff members should matter regardless of the color of their skin. The Bears fought this thing to the very end, and the league still turned them away. But the draft is not the only front office battle reaching a tipping point right now. For years, the Chicago Bears stadium situation has been stuck in an endless loop of political delays, competing proposals, and zero resolution. That might finally be about to change. At the owners' meetings this week, Kevin Warren told reporters the target is to have a final decision made by late spring or early summer of this year. He confirmed that the Bears already have full tax certainty in the state of Indiana, where the Hammond site has passed all environmental reviews and legislative requirements. Everything on that side is ready to go. But in Illinois, the state still has not passed the pilot bill that would freeze property tax assessments on mega projects and give the Bears the financial certainty they need to build at the Arlington Heights location, a property spanning over 300 acres that the team already owns. Warren did not leave any room for guessing. He said flatly that the Bears would not be able to build a stadium without tax certainty and that Indiana already provides it. George McCaskey addressed the financial side, saying the team would need to borrow roughly $2 billion, but insisted it would have no impact whatsoever on football operation spending. Commissioner Roger Goodell even weighed in, saying the Bears need to come to a resolution fairly quickly, whether it ends up in Indiana or Arlington Heights. When the commissioner of the NFL is publicly pushing for urgency, that tells you this has dragged on long enough for the entire league to notice. If Illinois cannot get the legislation passed in the next couple of months, all signs point to Indiana becoming the new home of the Bears. It would feel strange, but the organization is clearly tired of waiting. After years of back and forth, a final answer appears closer than it has ever been. And once that decision is locked in, all the energy shifts back to the field, where Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, and this young roster are building something that might finally bring a championship back to Chicago.